It started with the weight. Not pain, not pressure like something sharp or sudden, just weight. I noticed it one morning when I got out of bed. My legs felt heavier than usual, like I'd slept wrong. I shook it off, stretched, went about my day. But it didn't go away. If anything, it got worse. By the second night, it felt like I was dragging something behind me. Not physically, there was nothing there when I looked, but every step took just a little more effort, like the air itself had thickened around me. Sleep didn't help. Lying in bed, I could feel it pressing down, subtle at first, then more defined, like a blanket slowly being pulled tighter across my body, except I hadn't pulled it. I started waking up in the middle of the night, always at the same time, 3:17 a.m. My eyes would snap open, my chest tight, breath shallow, and the weight would be worse, heavier, pinning me into the mattress. The room always felt colder at that hour, the air stale, tinged with something faint and sour, rot. I'd lie there, staring at the ceiling, trying to move my arms. They responded, but slowly, like something resisted the motion. The first time I noticed the shadow, I thought it was just the streetlight outside, a faint shape on the wall, unremarkable, until it moved. Not much, just enough, a shift that didn't match anything in the room. I sat up quickly, my pulse spiking, the weight pressing harder against my chest. The shadow snapped back into place, still, flat, normal. I told myself it was my eyes adjusting, light distortion, anything. But the next night, it was closer. I didn't notice it at first, not until I tried to stand. My legs trembled under me, my knees almost buckling as that invisible weight pulled downward. I stumbled, catching myself on the dresser, my breath coming in short bursts. That's when I saw it. On the floor, my shadow. Except it didn't match me. My arms were at my sides. The shadows weren't. They hung lower, longer, as if they were dragging. My throat went dry. I lifted my hand slowly. The shadow followed, but it lagged, a fraction too late. Cold sweat slid down my back. "No," I whispered. The word barely left my lips. The shadow's head tilted. Not much, just enough that I knew it hadn't been me. The room felt heavier, the air thick, hard to breathe. That sour smell crept stronger into my nose, settling in my throat. I staggered backward. The shadow didn't follow. It stayed where it was, flattened against the floor, but deeper now, darker than it should have been. Then it moved on its own, sliding, not across the floor, but through it, like it was sinking or pulling something up. My legs gave out. I hit the floor hard, the impact knocking the air from my lungs. The weight slammed down on me, full, crushing, my chest compressed, breath caught somewhere between inhale and panic. I couldn't move, couldn't scream. All I could do was watch. The shadow rose, not as a shape on the ground, but up, off it, peeling itself away like something separating from a surface it no longer needed. It stretched, elongated, until it stood over me, featureless, except for its depth, too dark, like a hole cut into the room. My heart pounded so hard it hurt. The weight on my chest shifted, adjusted, as if it had found where it belonged. A faint sound reached my ears, scratching, close, inside my head. Then a whisper, soft, dry, "You're lighter now." My breath hitched because it was right. The weight, it wasn't on me anymore. It was standing, and as it leaned closer, blotting out what little light remained, I realized what it had taken. When I tried to move again, there was no shadow beneath me at all.
I didn't notice it at first. It was just a mirror, cheap, full length, leaning against the wall across from my bed. I bought it when I moved into the apartment, something temporary that just stayed. Nothing special, until the night it didn't match. It was late, past midnight. I'd just come back from work, too tired to turn on the lights. The room was dim, lit only by the faint orange glow from the street lamp outside. I kicked off my shoes, dropped my keys on the dresser. I remember the sound clearly, a sharp clink. Except the mirror didn't match. I froze. My keys sat on the dresser beside me, but in the reflection, the surface was empty, clean, untouched. A cold prickle crept up the back of my neck. I stepped closer, slow, careful. My reflection followed, perfectly. The keys appeared in the mirror again, like they had always been there. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. "Just tired," I muttered. My voice sounded thin. I turned away, heading toward the bathroom. The mirrors stayed in my peripheral vision. And for a second, it moved wrong. Not much, just enough. A delay. I stopped, didn't turn back right away. My hands were already damp, fingers curling slightly without me meaning them to. Then I looked. Everything still. My reflection stood where it should, watching me. I forced myself to laugh under my breath and shook my head. Then I noticed something else. My reflection wasn't breathing. I was. My chest rose, fell, again, but in the mirror, nothing. Flat, still. The air in the room felt colder suddenly, thicker, harder to pull into my lungs. I stepped closer again. My reflection stared back, eyes locked with mine, too focused, too aware. "Okay," I whispered. My breath fogged faintly in the glass. The reflection didn't. A faint sound broke the silence. Scratch. I flinched. It came from the mirror, soft, deliberate, like fingernails dragging lightly across the inside of the glass. I leaned in despite myself, my pulse hammering in my ears. The scratching came again, closer. My reflection's lips twitched, just slightly. I didn't move, didn't breathe. The lips parted, and something inside the mirror inhaled, slow, deep. The glass fogged from the inside. I stumbled back, my heel catching on the edge of the rug. My reflection didn't move. It stayed close to the surface, closer than I was, watching, waiting. The smell hit me then, damp, rotting, like something sealed away too long had just been opened. "No," I whispered, shaking my head. My reflection tilted its head. I hadn't. The motion was slow, curious, almost interested. Then it lifted its hand. I didn't. My breath caught in my throat. The hand pressed flat against the inside of the glass. The surface warped slightly under the pressure, like it wasn't solid, like something could come through. I staggered backward, my hands trembling so hard I knocked into the dresser. My keys clattered to the floor.
This time, the mirror didn't show them falling. It showed them already on the ground, like it knew before it happened. The reflection leaned closer, its face almost touching the glass. Mine, but wrong, subtly stretched, eyes too wide, too focused. Then it spoke, not aloud. I felt it, right behind my eyes. "You left it open." My stomach dropped because I hadn't. I was sure I hadn't. But slowly, I turned my head toward the bedroom door. It was open, wide, dark hallway beyond it. I hadn't opened it. I know I hadn't. Behind me, the glass creaked softly. I didn't want to look, but I did. My reflection was gone. The mirror showed my room, empty except for one thing, something standing behind me, closer than it should have been, close enough that I felt its breath, cold, against the back of my neck. And when I tried to move, the reflection didn't follow.
I first noticed the hum the night I moved in. It was faint, easy to ignore, a low vibration buried somewhere behind the walls, like distant machinery or old wiring struggling to keep up. The landlord told me the building was outdated, just pipes, he said. I believed him. For the first few nights. The hum stayed constant, soft, almost comforting, like white noise. It filled the silence in a way that made the empty apartment feel occupied. Then it started changing, not louder, closer. I noticed it while lying in bed, staring at the ceiling. The sound wasn't coming from everywhere anymore. It had direction. The wall beside me. I turned my head slowly, pressing my ear against the paint. The vibration ran through my skull, deep and uneven. There was a rhythm to it now, not mechanical. Breathing. I pulled back immediately, my skin prickling. "That's not right," I whispered. The hum stuttered, stopped. The silence that followed felt heavier than the noise. Then, a soft knock from inside the wall. My throat went dry. I sat up, my hands trembling against the mattress. Another knock, slower, deliberate. I didn't move, couldn't. The smell came next, damp, rotting, like wet insulation or something worse. I got out of bed and stepped closer, each movement careful, my breath shallow. "Hello?" I said, barely louder than the hum had been. For a moment, nothing answered. Then the hum returned, but different, lower, distorted, and beneath it, a voice, not words, just sound, trying to form something. I backed away, my heel catching on the rug, my balance slipping for a second. The wall creaked softly. A hairline line appeared in the paint. Hairline, running vertically. It hadn't been there before. I stared at it, my chest rising too fast. The crack widened just slightly, enough for something dark to show through behind it. Not empty space. Movement. Slow. Pressing outward. The hum deepened, vibrating through the floor now, through my legs, into my chest. I could feel it in my teeth. The voice underneath it sharpened, layered, multiple tones trying to align. My hands shook so badly I had to press them against my sides to steady them. The crack spread, splitting further, paint flaking away, and then a finger pushed through. Gray, wet, nails blackened. It curled slowly against the edge of the wall, gripping it, pulling. I stumbled backward, hitting the opposite wall, my breath catching in sharp, uneven bursts. Another finger followed, then another, forcing their way through the narrow opening. The smell thickened, filling my lungs, making it hard to breathe. The hum cut out completely. Silence. Then a whisper. Clear now, right through the wall. "We heard you." My vision blurred at the edges, my pulse hammered in my ears. The crack widened enough to form a gap, a dark space beyond. Too deep, too still. Something shifted inside it. Closer now, waiting. My phone buzzed suddenly in my pocket, making me flinch. I pulled it out with shaking hands. No signal, no service, just a notification. Unknown source, one line of text. "Let us out." The wall behind it creaked again. The fingers tightened their grip, and slowly something else began to push through.